Segment 10, Nikud Shalosh, Nikud Beit. Kabetz otanu, ketzonecha. Kabetz otanu, ketzonecha. From time to time in a reconciliation process, it may be necessary to call on the offended party to move to an action step. We find the king of Nineveh taking this bold step in his prayer. Turn your attention for a moment to the Eser Nikud Shalosh Jonah episode, cell 2, line Aleph. Kabetz otanu ketzonecha, utechas ahavatecha al kol peshaenu. Kabetz otanu ketzonecha, utechas ahavatecha al kol peshaenu. This bicolon employs two command forms. The first, a PL imperative in the word kabetz. The second, a PL jussive, techas. A couple of lines later, cell 2, line Gimel, we find the king again raising an imperative toward God. But in this case, he has left the bicolon unfinished. Your task will be to supply the missing second colon and thereby complete the bicolon of cell 2, line Gimel. As you do so, please take these two steps. First, ensure that you're employing a command form, and in order to strengthen our grasp of using the PL binyan, please let this command form come from a verb in the PL binyan. You'll find that it will work best if you limit yourself either to an imperative from the PL or to a jussive from the PL, rather than using a cohortative command form. And that's simply due to the particular perspective of this individual scenario. Second, would you also do this? Please refrain from reusing one of the PL command forms already appearing elsewhere in the King's Prayer. And you'll see those listed here. So you should avoid reusing barech, kaper, palet, and kabetz. Any other PL command form is open for use. It may be helpful at this time to go over how PL imperatives are formed, along with some review information regarding other command forms. That information is located at the close of this segment. Let's turn there at this time. Let's take a closer look at how to form PL imperatives. You'll be pleased to know that forming imperatives in the PL binyan will resemble how we formed imperatives in other binyanim. In short, we can take a yiktol form and then subtract the prefix. What is remaining for the second person form is the imperative. So, for example, to reach the imperative kabetz, meaning gather, masculine singular, we can arrive at this by beginning with tukabetz, which is the yiktol form, second masculine singular, meaning you will gather. Subtract the prefix tav, shiva, and then we're left with kabetz, the imperative form gather. In the table on this page, you will see 4 verbs. They represent a variety of spelling patterns, and you'll see the PL imperatives provided beneath each shoresh. Lamad will provide us a model for verbs with strong consonants. Let's look at the imperatives that issue from Lamad. Lamed, this is the masculine singular imperative. Teach. Lamdi, this is the feminine singular imperative. Again, teach. Lamedu, this is the masculine plural imperative, which we would use to summon a group of men or a mixed group to engage the activity of teaching. And finally, lamedna. This would summon a group of women or feminine gendered objects to engage in the activity of teaching. If instead you're working with a shoresh where the second consonant is a guttural, then please employ the model provided by Racham. Let's read over these forms. They will cascade in the same sequence: masculine singular, feminine singular, masculine plural, feminine plural. Rachem, rachami, rachamu, rachemna. If instead you're working with a hollow shoresh, then follow the pattern provided by Rum. romem, romami, romamu, romemna. Finally, if you're working with a third yod-hey verb, follow the pattern provided by kasa. Here are the imperative forms: kase, kasi, kasu, kasena. Use of a positive imperative is not the only way to complete this bicolon activity. Alternatively, you may choose to employ a jussive form, expressing a strong wish that some third-person entity may behave in a particular fashion. We see the king of Nineveh employing this in cell 2, line Aleph, the second colon, when he states, Utechas ahavatecha. Alternatively, you may opt for an urgent prohibition. You'll recall this involves issuing a negative command by employing al followed by the jussive. In this way, you would be asking someone not to do something. We see an example of this in cell 2, line Gimel. Shaleach al teshalachenu beyad peshaenu. Now, another command form is provided by the cohortative. This would operate in the first person, meaning may I or may we do something. It's produced by adding a kametz he suffix to a first person yiktol form. We do see an example of this in the king's prayer when he states, Lema'an azamra shimecha. However, use of a cohortative in this particular exercise will produce a slightly awkward scenario since it departs from the viewpoint of the king asking God to do something and would instead create a scenario where the king is calling on himself to behave in a certain way. Thus, it's best to concentrate on one of the other command forms for this particular activity. Here is the Eser Nikud Shalosh Jonah episode. Cell 2, you can see that bicolon Gimel is incomplete. The first monocolon of Gimel reads, Shaleach al teshalchenu beyad peshaenu. Here is the same monocolon within the context of the current activity. Please begin by providing your translation of monocolon Aleph in the space to the left, then proceed to compose monocolon Beit, employing at least one PL command form. Please circle that command form in your Hebrew composition, and then provide a translation of monocolon Beit in the area to the left.